Imagine being in an unfamiliar place, surrounded by people speaking a language you don't understand. Every word you say could change your fate. What would you do? Today, you're going to hear a story full of tension and challenges. But more than that, this is a great opportunity to practice your English. Listening to stories is one of the best ways to improve your listening skills and learn new words naturally. So, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and get ready for this journey. Now, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let's begin. Jake took a deep breath as he tightened his seatbelt. The night sky stretched endlessly before him, illuminated only by the soft glow of the instrument panel. The mission was simple: fly over the border, gather intel, and return safely. But deep down, he knew that nothing in his line of work was ever truly simple. His radio buzzed. "Captain Jake, confirm your position." He pressed the button. "Approaching checkpoint now. Everything looks clear." His voice was calm, but his grip on the controls was firm. Years of training had prepared him for moments like this. A flicker on the radar caught his attention. A small blip, maybe a glitch, maybe not. He adjusted the frequency, listening for unusual signals. The air was eerily silent. "Stay focused," he whispered to himself. One mistake could change everything. Outside, the wind currents shifted, making the aircraft slightly tremble. Jake frowned. Something felt off. He had learned to trust his instincts, and right now, they were telling him something was wrong. Then, without warning, a warning light flashed red. Engine failure. Jake's heart pounded. His hands moved quickly over the controls. He had only seconds to react. Jake's breath quickened as he scanned the cockpit. The red warning light blinked urgently: engine failure. He flipped switches, adjusted controls, and checked the gauges. "Come on, not now," he muttered. The aircraft trembled as the engine sputtered. Altitude was dropping fast. Reaching for the radio, he pressed the button. "Mayday, Mayday. This is Captain Jake. I have an engine failure. Request immediate support." Static. No response. His heart pounded. He tried again. "Mayday. Does anyone copy?" Still nothing. The realization hit him like a punch. He was flying alone, over a dangerous zone, and no one knew he was in trouble. The wind roared outside as the plane continued to lose altitude. Below, the dark landscape stretched for miles. He didn't know exactly where he was, but he knew one thing: this wasn't friendly territory. He needed to act fast. If the engine died completely, he wouldn't have a second chance. Jake gritted his teeth, trying to stabilize the aircraft. His hands moved instinctively, adjusting the throttle, pulling the nose up slightly. But it wasn't enough. "Come on, stay with me," he whispered, but the aircraft shuddered violently. The engine let out a final groan. And then, silence. The plane was falling. Jake clenched the control stick. He had one last chance to land safely, or he wouldn't land at all. The impact was hard. Jake braced himself as the plane skidded across the rough terrain, metal screeching against the earth. His body jerked forward, the seatbelt digging into his chest. Then, silence. For a moment, he just sat there, catching his breath. He was alive. But he knew he couldn't stay inside. The wreckage would attract attention. Jake unbuckled his seatbelt and pushed the cockpit open. The air was thick with dust and smoke. He climbed out, stumbling onto the cold ground. His knees felt weak, but he forced himself to stand. Then, he heard voices. Low, urgent, speaking a language he didn't fully understand. He wasn't alone. His instincts kicked in. He reached for his radio, but before he could even turn it on, a flashlight beamed directly at him. Stop, a voice commanded. Jake's hands froze midair. A group of soldiers surrounded him, rifles aimed at his chest. Their faces were hard, unreadable. He had no doubt where he had landed, enemy territory. One soldier stepped closer, gripping his weapon tightly. Come with us. Jake swallowed hard. He had no choice. Slowly, he raised his hands. I am lost, he said, his voice steady but controlled. I need help. The soldiers exchanged glances. He had no idea if they understood him, or if they even cared. But one thing was certain, he was now their prisoner. Jake felt the cold steel of a rifle barrel press lightly against his back as the soldiers led him forward. His boots sank into the loose dirt with each step. His mind raced. What would they do with him? They spoke among themselves in hushed tones, their words fast and sharp. He caught a few familiar sounds, but couldn't understand the meaning. He was completely out of his element. Taking a slow breath, he tried again. Please, listen to me. His voice was firm, but controlled. He needed them to see him as a person, not an enemy. One of the soldiers, younger than the rest, narrowed his eyes. Who are you? He asked in clear but accented English. Jake exhaled in relief. Finally, a chance. I am a pilot. My plane crashed, he said carefully. The young soldier translated to the others. Their faces remained unreadable. Then, an older man, probably the leader, stepped forward. His expression was skeptical. Are you a spy? His English was rough, but the meaning was clear. Jake shook his head. No. I am lost. I need help. The leader studied him for a long moment, then turned to his men. More words in their language, a few nods. Then, the leader gestured forward. Move. Jake didn't know what they had decided, but he knew one thing. His fate was no longer in his own hands. Jake walked in silence, flanked by soldiers on both sides. The night was cold, and the distant sound of dogs barking sent a chill down his spine. His mind kept racing. Where were they taking him? The leader, the older man with sharp eyes, walked ahead, occasionally glancing back. Was he still thinking about whether Jake was a spy? Jake knew he had to convince them. The wrong decision could cost him his life. "I am not your enemy," he said, keeping his voice steady. "I crashed. That's all." The young soldier, the one who spoke English, translated. The leader didn't react at first. Then, he stopped walking. The others halted too. For a tense moment, no one spoke. Then, the leader turned to the young soldier. "Call headquarters," he ordered in his own language. Jake's stomach tightened. Headquarters. That meant they were handing him over to someone higher up. He couldn't let that happen. The more people involved, the worse his chances of survival. He glanced around. His hands were still tied, but his feet were free. If he was going to make a move, it had to be now. His heart pounded. Was escape even possible? Then, the young soldier pulled out a radio, stepping away from the group. Jake took a slow breath, eyes scanning the darkness. This might be his only chance. Jake's heart pounded as he weighed his options. If he stayed, they would take him to headquarters. If he ran, he had a slim chance of escaping. His eyes darted around. The night was dark, but the soldiers were alert. His hands were tied, making any sudden move risky. He needed a distraction. The young soldier was still speaking into the radio, his back turned. One of the other men adjusted his rifle, shifting his weight. For a brief second, no one was looking directly at Jake. He took his chance. With a burst of energy, he lunged sideways, twisting his body to break free. His sudden movement caught them off guard. Shouts erupted. "Stop him!" someone yelled. Jake sprinted, his feet pounding against the dirt. He zigzagged through the darkness, knowing a straight line would make him an easy target. Gunshots echoed, but he didn't stop. His breath was ragged, his muscles burning. He had to disappear. Up ahead, a cluster of trees loomed in the distance. If he could reach them, he might have a chance. He pushed harder, forcing his legs to move faster. Behind him, voices grew more distant. He wasn't safe yet, but he was no longer their prisoner. Then, through the trees, he spotted something, a small, abandoned cabin. Hope flickered in his chest. If it had supplies, maybe, just maybe, he could find a way to call for help. Jake stumbled into the cabin, chest heaving. The wooden structure was small, barely standing, but it was shelter. He pressed his back against the wall, listening. Silence. Had he really escaped? His eyes adjusted to the darkness. The room was nearly empty, a broken chair, a table covered in dust, and a radio. His pulse quickened. Could it still work? Jake hurried over, his fingers trembling as he turned the dial. A soft crackle filled the air. He adjusted the frequency, searching. Then, through the static, a faint voice emerged. "Identify yourself." Hope surged through him. He pressed the button. "This is Captain Jake. I need help. My plane crashed. Enemy territory." Silence. Did they hear him? Then, a reply, clear, strong. "Captain Jake, we read you. Stay where you are. Help is coming." Relief flooded his body. They knew where he was. He wasn't alone anymore. But just as he let out a breath, a noise outside made him freeze. Footsteps. He turned off the radio and crouched low. Had the soldiers found him? A shadow moved past the window. Voices whispered outside. His heart pounded. He had called for help, but could he survive long enough for it to arrive? Jake held his breath, pressing his back against the cabin wall. The soldiers were close. Shadows flickered outside as their voices grew louder. He gripped a loose wooden plank from the floor. If they came in, he would have to fight. A sudden noise cut through the night, the distant sound of helicopter blades. Hope surged through him. His team was coming. The soldiers outside reacted instantly. "Move! Move!" one of them shouted. Chaos erupted as they scrambled, pointing their rifles at the sky. Jake seized the moment. He darted toward the door, shoving it open. Light from the helicopter's search beam flooded the area. "Captain Jake," a voice called from above. His rescue team had arrived. Gunfire erupted. Bullets hit the dirt around him as he sprinted forward. His legs burned, but he didn't stop. A rope ladder dropped from the helicopter. A soldier lunged for him, but Jake twisted away. With one final leap, he grabbed the ladder. The aircraft lifted, pulling him into the air. Below, the soldiers shouted, their faces disappearing into the darkness. Inside the helicopter, strong hands pulled him up. "You're safe now, Captain." Jake collapsed against the seat, his breath uneven. He had made it. The helicopter soared into the night. He wasn't lost anymore. Jake sat in silence, staring out of the helicopter window. The city lights in the distance felt unreal. Hours ago, he had been a prisoner. Now, he was free. A medic checked his vitals. "You're lucky, Captain," he said. "Not many survive a situation like that." Jake exhaled, nodding. It hadn't been luck, it had been survival, quick thinking, and one crucial skill: English. Without it, he wouldn't have communicated with the soldiers. He wouldn't have called for help. Language had saved his life. The radio crackled. "Welcome back, Captain," a voice said. "We've been waiting for you." Jake smiled. It was good to hear familiar words. He looked down at his hands, remembering the fear, the uncertainty. But he had made it through. As the helicopter approached the base, he made a silent promise: never take communication for granted. Because sometimes, the right words at the right time can mean the difference between life and death. So, what did you think of this story? Were you able to understand the phrases and expressions in English? Stories like this help you train your listening skills naturally, expanding your vocabulary without complicated methods. The more you listen, the more you learn. If you enjoyed it, leave a like to support the channel and subscribe so you don't miss the next stories. And if you want to keep practicing, click on the next video and dive even deeper into English.